Aptitude, Dr. Mark Assibey, which is default. 2023, we've started by talking about the biggest thing that we define this year as our debt restructuring. What's the possibility? How close and real is it that this country may default on its debt obligations this year?
You would recall that I indicated earlier that the budget had provisioned to pay interest to the tune of 52.5 billion. So if the status quo remains, as per the budget presented to Parliament and approved by SEAM, we shouldn't run into any problems. The danger is that our debt is growing exponentially. So for this year, we can still borrow to pay Theo touched on the numbers. He said expenditure 205, revenue 144. So it tells you are borrowing about 60-something billion. Okay, so that 60-something billion adds to the debt, the deficit grows, and so by 2024 the debt will grow and grow. The danger is that in 2024 we have Euro bonds maturing. Now we have to pay about 1.5. Okay, so if you have to pay $1.5 billion in Euro bonds, you can't access the international capital market. What it means is that your revenue that you generate here, make it, if it's at exchange rate of 14 cedis to the dollar, 1.5 billion, that would be about 21 billion of your domestic revenue that you will have to exchange into dollars to pay off that maturing Euro bond. So pressure on the cedi. You don't have the forex, so there's pressure on the cedi, and then your revenue that you are generating to run your programs domestically, you are using that same revenue. So for this year, I think we can get by if nothing happens. But by 2024, we will not have any space because of all these maturing bonds and the rest. And sooner than later, we will not have the forex to import essential medicines, crude, and the rest. Then you are in Sri Lanka. You see queues for fuel all over. You can't get essential medicines, and then the country will go past. So that's the danger. Foreseeing it is why the fund is saying, okay, then let us do something about this. So instead of paying 52.5 billion in interest this year, let's bring it down, and then gradually hive some of it off so that we get a space to do the things we want to do. The fund comes in to support the World Bank with their budget support, all other donors come in, and then you do the hard things that you know you have to do, but you have not been doing. Okay, so that's where we are.
Okay, so you touched on the point that you mentioned the Sri Lanka situation, which is their inability at a point to import essentials into the country. Queues formed because fuel was finished at the pumps, essential medicines, etc. You say that this year we should, but economists say all things being equal, you don't expect that to happen this year. Clarify that for me, but we need to do some things to avoid that happening this year. Please explain that.
Okay, so if we had not triggered the panic button, okay, nobody will be exchanging their bonds. People will still be playing the long end of the market, 2-year bonds, 3-year bonds. Now we've triggered the panic button. The bond market is dead. Yeah. Nobody is buying bonds, 2-year bonds, 3-year bonds. So government is borrowing only on the short end. If government is taking money and 91 days they have to repay, you can imagine the pressure on government. Government gives the space. 5-year bond, 7-year bond. When you take a 5-year bond, the coupon payments is every 6 months. It gives you space. Okay, the principal is paid in 5 years, it's paid in 7 years, 10 years. Our Euro bonds within 30 years, 40 years, 41 years. So you have the space. But now you're only playing the short end of the market, 91 days. It comes up so fast. Okay, so right now we've triggered the panic button. And so things are not normal. Nobody is lending to government. Again, in the long end of the market. Government T-bills are going at 37%. It's crazy. Okay, inflation is ballooning. Everything is out of gear. And so I don't want to be pessimistic or be the prophet of doom, but I'm worried. I'm worried.